What's up Vault Hunters? Welcome back to the channel. And if you are anything like me, you have been counting down the days until Borderlands 4 drops on September 12th. But here's the deal, while everyone's getting hyped about the campaign and those 4 sick new Vault Hunters, what really matters is what goes down after those credits roll. You know what I'm saying? Because let's keep it 100, in Borderlands there's story mode. That's just the warm-up. The real game, that's the endgame grind. So check this out, Gearbox just dropped this insane info bomb about Borderlands 4's endgame systems. And I have been grinding through every single detail for days now. And I'm not even playing when you tell this might be the most legit, comprehensive endgame system we have ever seen in a Borderlands game. We are talking about completely redesigned progression systems, brand new gear mechanics that are straight fire, quality of life improvements that will make you go, bro, how did we even survive without this stuff? And a post-launch roadmap that's absolutely loaded with content. So grab your energy drink, get comfortable, because this video is gonna be a marathon. But trust me, every single minute is gonna be worth it if you wanna absolutely crush it on Kairos from day one. So why this endgame is different? Before we jump into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about what makes Borderlands 4's endgame straight up different from the previous games. So in Borderlands 2 and 3, the endgame was basically like just replay the story on harder difficulties and cross your fingers for better loot drops. Sure, we had Mayhem mode in Borderlands 3, which has pretty cool, but it still felt kinda disconnected and repetitive as heck. Borderlands 4 said, nah bro, we are throwing that whole playbook out the window. Instead of making you grind through the same story beats over and over again, they built what they are calling this deep yet accessible system that scales with however good you are and keeps you hooked, whether you are someone who plays casually and you are one of those legends who's gonna sink like more than 500 hours into this game. The core loop is simple but absolutely genius. Complete challenges to unlock tougher content, get better gear from that tougher content, use that gear to tackle even more difficult challenges. It's like climbing a mountain, but every step up gives you this sick view and even cooler rewards. And here's the kicker, everything's designed to work at your pace. No more feeling like you gotta keep up with your friends who play like 8 hours a day, and no more getting bored because the content's too easy. This thing is truly built for everyone, but enough with the philosophy talk. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes of what you will actually be doing. You know what I mean? Alright, so the big daddy of Borderlands 4's endgame is Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. If you played Borderlands 3, think of this as Mayhem mode's bigger, better, with smarter older brother who went to college and got jacked. Here's how this thing works. Once you finish the campaign with your first character, and this is super important, it only needs to be one character, you unlock Ultimate Vault Hunter mode across your entire account. No more replaying this story on True Vault Hunter mode just to access the good stuff. That's some quality of life right there, man. UVHM comes with 5 distinct difficulty levels, and here's where it gets spicy. You don't just unlock them one after another like some boring ladder. Each level is locked behind specific challenges spread all across Kairos. We are talking about stuff like take out of 50 psychos in the Crimson Vests, or complete 3 side missions in the Frozen Peaks without your shield breaking even once. And these aren't just random busy work either. Each challenge is redesigned to push you to explore different areas, try out different playstyles, and really master the mechanics of whichever Vault Hunter you picked. It's like the game's giving you homework, but homework that's actually fun and pays you back with sick rewards. But here's where things gets really crazy. Once you have knocked out enough challenges, you unlock what's called a Wildcard mission. Picture this scenario, you take a mission you already beat, but now every single enemy has completely new modifiers. That bandit you one-shotted during the campaign, now he's got like 300% more health, reflects elemental damage back at you, and explodes when he dies. It's absolutely nuts. Successfully beating a wildcard mission unlocks the next UVHM tier. The whole cycle just keeps going. It's this perfect escalating challenge that keeps you constantly engaged without ever feeling cheap or unfair. And the rewards scale up accordingly, dude. We are talking about way better loot, drop rates, higher quality gear, increased XP gains, and more of those premium currencies like cash and iridium. Plus, certain legendary items and gear sets are completely exclusive to higher UVHM tiers, so there's always something fresh to chase after. The brilliant part is that enemies scale to your level globally, so you never have that weird situation where you are level 50 fighting level 30 enemies because you went back to some earlier area. Everything stays challenging and relevant no matter where you go on Kairos. That's some smart design right there. Now, one of the biggest complaints about older Borderlands games was once you'd framed all the bosses and got the gear you wanted, there wasn't much reason to keep playing until the next DLC dropped. Borderlands 4 fixes this with this sick weekly content system that honestly reminds me of what Destiny does, but potentially even better. Every single week you are getting 3 distinct pieces of fresh content, and let me tell you, this stuff is fire. First up is the weekly big Encore boss. This isn't just like here's the same boss but with more health. Nah bro, we are talking about completely souped up variants with unique modifiers, exclusive attack patterns, and most importantly, their own curated loot pools with items you literally cannot get anywhere else in the game. Think of it like a weekly raid boss, but accessible whether you are rolling solo or with your squad. Then there is weekly wildcard missions where the entire community gets the same challenge. Maybe this week everyone's gotta complete this specific mission where all enemies have explosive resistance and regenerating shields. The beauty of this game is that it creates this shared community experience where everyone is trying to figure out the optimal strategies together. Plus, these missions guarantee a legendary drop and you can repeat them as many times as you want to get that perfect roll on your gear. But here's my personal favorite addition, and this one is got me hyped. Maurice's black market machine. For those who don't know, Maurice is this absolutely hilarious Saurian character who's obsessed with studying human behavior, and somehow this dude managed to set up shop up on Kairos. Every week, his black market machine spawns in a completely new location somewhere on the planet. Finding it is half the fun. We are talking about a proper treasure hunt that will have you exploring every single nook and cranny of Kairos. But once you find it, you can purchase high tier legendary gear using your in-game cash. Now here's the twist that some people are loving and some people are kinda mixed on. The inventory is unique for each player. So while everyone is hunting for the same machine in the same location, what is inside is completely personalized to you. The developers say this encourages cooperation because you will wanna invite your friends to your game to check out their inventory and vice versa. Personally, I am kinda torn on this one, not gonna lie. Part of me misses that community aspect of everyone chasing the same weekly vendor items like we see in the Destiny with Zer. But I can see the appeal of this system too. It means there is always a chance Maurice has that one perfect item you have been hunting for weeks. We will see how it plays out, but I am cautiously optimistic. Okay, this section might not sound as exciting as new bosses or gear sets, but you trust me when I tell you these quality of life improvements are gonna completely change how you experience Borderlands for real. Let's start with the absolute game changer, Moxxi's big Encore machine. If you have ever farmed bosses in the older Borderlands games, you know the pain bro. Kill boss, check loot, quit to menu, reload save, repeat. It was straight up tedious. It totally killed the vibe, and if you were playing with friends, it was an absolute nightmare trying to coordinate all that nonsense. Moxxi's big Encore machine completely eliminates this pain point, and I mean completely spend some iridium and boom, instant boss respawn right there in the arena. No loading screens, no save manipulation, no having to clear your way back to the boss room. Just pure uninterrupted farming bliss, man. But it gets even better. The machine isn't just for farming the same boss over and over. Remember those weekly big Encore bosses I mentioned? You access those through the same system. It's like having a portal to every major boss fight in the game, all in one convenient spot. Then there is the complete overhaul of how loot farming works in general, and this is huge. Previous Borderlands games basically forced you to find that one boss who drops the item you want, then kill them like 100 times in the same location. Borderlands 4 spreads this out with dedicated drops tied to different enemy types across all of Kairos. Want a specific assault rifle? Maybe it drops from psychos in the desert regions. Need a particular shield? Hunt down those big mech enemies in the industrial zones. This system encourages exploration, keeps the world feeling alive and dynamic, and prevents that mind-numbing repetition of fighting the same boss in the same room for hours on the end. That's what I call smart game design. And speaking of boss hunting, it's now integrated with this contract system, which rewards you with iridium for taking down specific targets. So you are not just farming for loot, you are also earning that premium currency you need for race packs, machine usage and other endgame activities. Everything just flows together so smoothly. Here's a feature that I'm absolutely in love with, and it shows that Gearbox has really been listening to the community. The character escape system. Look, we all know the Borderlands experience. You pick a Vault Hunter, play through the 20 to 30 hour campaign, get to endgame and then realize maybe you actually want to try a different character, but the thought of replaying that entire campaign again, oof. Borderlands 4 says forget that noise. Once you have completed the campaign with any character, you can instantly boost new Vault Hunters to level 30. Keep in mind the level cap is 50, so you are not missing out on much progression, but you are also not getting a completely maxed character either. This means you can experiment with different Vault Hunters in the endgame without any commitment. Want to see how Rafa's elemental focus compares to Vex's gadget based playstyle in high level ultimate Vault Hunter mode? Just create a new character and jump right in. But here's what makes this system really smart. It's not just about skipping content. These boosted characters start with appropriate gear for their level, basic skill point allocations that make sense for their kit, and enough resources to immediately start participating in endgame activities. They have thought through all the little details to make sure your ult experience is smooth from minute 1. This is huge for content creators, streamers and just regular players who want to experience everything the game has to offer without feeling like they have trapped with their first character choice. Now we are getting to the really meaty stuff. Firmware is probably the single biggest addition to Borderlands 4's loot system, and it's something the series has never had before: proper gear sets. Here's how it works. Certain pieces of gear can roll with firmware, which is essential set bonuses that activate when you equip multiple pieces of the same set. We are talking about a 3-tier system: minor bonuses for 1 piece, major bonuses for 2 pieces, and full bonuses for 3 pieces. But here's the crucial detail: firmware only appears on 5 specific gear types. Rip kits, which are like grenades, ordnance, heavy weapons, class modes, shields and enhancements. Your 4 main weapons, no firmware. This creates really interesting constraint where you can only have 5 firmware enabled items equipped at any time. The decision making this creates is fantastic. Do you go all in on one set to get that powerful bonus, or do you mix and match different sets to get a variety of minor and major bonuses? There is no single right answer. It depends on your playstyle, your Vault Hunter and what content you are tackling. Let me give you a concrete example with the Dead Eye firmware set that they have shown off. At 1 piece equipped you get more than 30% gun accuracy. Not game breaking, but nice to have. At 2 pieces you add more than 25% critical hit damage. Now we are talking. But at 3 pieces, every critical hit adds more than 15% critical damage per stack for 10 seconds, up to 5 stacks. Do the math on that. If you are consistently landing crits, you are looking at up to more than 75% critical damage on top of your base bonuses. That's the kind of multiplicative scaling that can completely transform a build, and this is just one set out of potentially dozens. We have seen hints of sets that trigger missile strikes, boost damage, and lifesteal when your health is low, enhance specific weapon types, and who knows what else. But wait, there is more. Once you finish the campaign, you unlock transfer machines that let you move firmware from one piece of gear to another. Got a great firmware set on mediocre gear? Transfer it to that perfect weapon you just found. The catch is that the donor item gets destroyed in the process, and any existing firmware on the target item gets overwritten. This creates some really interesting resource management decisions. Do you transfer that amazing firmware set to your current best gear, knowing you might find something even better tomorrow? Or do you hold on to it until you are absolutely sure you have found your endgame piece? Firmware starts dropping at level 25, so by the time you hit endgame, you will already be familiar with how these sets work and which ones synergize with your playstyle. And the best part, certain firmware sets are exclusive to Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, so there is always something new to chase. If you played Borderlands 2's Badass ranks or Borderlands 3's Guardian ranks, you already understand the basic concept behind specialization, but Borderlands 4 takes this system and refines it into something much more elegant and meaningful. First off, it's completely account-wide. Every bit of XP you earn on any character contributes to your specialization level, and all the bonuses apply to every Vault Hunter you create. This means your 10th alt is going to feel noticeably more powerful than your first character, even at the same level. The system starts with 4 basic nodes, things like maximum health and shields, gun damage, and other fundamental stats. These aren't huge bonuses individually, we are talking about small percentage increases that add up over time. But here is where it gets interesting. As you level up these basic nodes, you unlock passive specialization skills that you can slot into socket spaces. Think of these like more specialized bonuses that can dramatically change how you play. Maybe there is a skill that makes your action skill cooldown faster when you take damage, or one that gives you bonus movement speed after getting a kill. Initially, you only have one socket to work with, but over time you can unlock up to 4. This means you are constantly making decisions about which bonuses matter most for your current build and playstyle. But the real endgame chase is the prestige nodes. These are powerful bonuses that require significant investment in the basic nodes to unlock. For example, the Gadgeteer Prestige node that buffs your ordnance damage requires at least 10 points in both the Survivor and Brute basic nodes. This creates these long-term progression goals that extend way beyond just hitting max level, even hundreds of hours into the game. You will still be working toward unlocking and maxing out these prestige nodes. And here's a feature I absolutely love. You can respec your specialization points at any time, or even leave sockets empty if you want a greater challenge. Creating a new character and want to experience the early game difficulty again, just unslot some of your specializations. Want to optimize for a specific piece of content, respec into the bonuses that matter most. It's this perfect balance of meaningful long-term progression that doesn't lock you into permanent choices. You get to feel your account growing stronger over time while maintaining the flexibility to adapt to new content or playstyles. Alright, let's talk about what is coming after launch, because Gearbox has laid out one of the most comprehensive post-launch roadmaps I have ever seen for a Borderlands game. We are getting 2 main types of paid content, story packs and bounty packs. The first story pack is called Mad Ellie and the Vault of the Damned, and just from the name, you know it's going to be wild. This brings back Ellie, one of the most beloved NPCs from Borderlands 2, in what they are describing as a darker cosmic horror themed adventure. But here's the big news, this story pack introduces the first launch playable Vault Hunter. We don't have official details yet, but if you look closely at the promotional images, you can see a figure wearing what looks like a hat. The community is split between thinking it's either a wizard type character or maybe a cowboy western themed Vault Hunter. Randy Pitchford dropped a hint saying this character has a lot up their sleeves, which honestly could go either way, but given Borderlands' love of pop culture references about the top characters, I am leaning towards some kind of magic user. Imagine the possibilities: spells instead of grenades, summoning creatures, maybe even reality warping abilities. The potential is huge. Each story pack also comes with new regions to explore, main and side missions, legendary loot exclusive to that content, and cosmetics like Vault Hunter skins, vehicle customizations, and eco device themes. Then we have bounty packs, which are smaller but narrative driven expansions. These focus on characters you meet during the main campaign. The first one centers around Rush, whoever that turns out to be. Each bounty pack includes new missions, a fresh boss fight, new legendaries, and a Wildcard system with 24 cosmetic items plus 4 pieces of free rollable gear. But honestly, more excited about the free content. We are getting seasonal mini events starting in the October with Horrors of Kairos, which sounds like a Halloween themed event with exclusive legendary weapons, cosmetics, and even new weather effects for the planet. Then there are invincible bosses that, and if you know Borderlands, you know these are the ultimate endgame challenge. Each one comes with its own arena that utilizes new transversal mechanics. So you are not just fighting harder enemies, you are learning entirely new ways to move through the world. The first invincible boss is planned for Q4 2025, which gives everyone plenty of time to perfect their builds and gear up for the challenge. And here's the kicker: each new invincible boss brings a new ultimate Vault Hunter mode level, so the difficult ceiling keeps rising along with the rewards. But in the news that has the entire community buzzing, Pearlescent weapons are coming back in early 2026 as a free update alongside Bounty Pack 2. For newcomers, Pearlescents are essentially a rarity tier above legendary. We are talking about weapons so rare and powerful that getting one is genuine event. In previous games, Pearlescents had drops rates well under 0.1%, but when you finally got one, it was build defining gear that could carry you through the highest level content. The fact that they are bringing these back as free content shows Gearbox's commitment to keeping the endgame fresh and rewarding for years to come. Now that we have covered all the individual systems, let's talk about how they all work together, because this is where Borderlands 4's endgame really starts to shine. The key insight is that none of these systems exist in isolation. Your firmware choices influence which specialization skills make the most sense. Your Vault Hunter's native abilities determine which ultimate Vault Hunter mode modifiers you can handle. The weekly content rotation affects which builds are most effective at any given time. For example, let's say you are playing as Vex, the gadget-focused Vault Hunter. You might want to prioritize firmware sets that boost ordnance damage and cooldown reduction. This synergizes perfectly with specialization skills that further enhance gadget effectiveness. Then when the weekly big Encore boss has modifiers that favor crowd control and area damage, your build is perfectly positioned to dominate. But here is where the transformation system becomes crucial. Maybe next week's content favors single target damage over crowd control. Instead of starting over with a new build, you can transfer your best firmware to different pieces of gear that work better with a modified skill setup. The specialization respect system ties into this beautifully. You are not locked into permanent character choices. You can adapt your long-term progression bonuses to match short-term content strategies, creating this dynamic optimization puzzle that never gets stale. And because everything is account-wide, the alt system becomes part of your overall strategy too. May your main character is optimized for solo play and boss farming, but you create an alt specifically for group content and weekly challenges. Both characters benefit from your specialization progress, but they can take advantage of different firmware combinations and skill builds. This kind of strategic depth is something we have never really seen in the Borderlands before. Previous games were mostly about finding the best gear and sticking with it. Borderlands 4 turns build optimization into an ongoing process where you constantly adapting to new content, new challenges, and new opportunities. Alright, we are getting close to launch, so let's talk strategy. If you want to hit the ground running and make the most Borderlands endgame system from day one, here's what I recommend. First, choose your main character carefully, but don't stress too much about it. Remember, you can skip the campaign on ults once you have beaten it once, so your first choice isn't permanent. That said, if you are planning to be the first one in your friend group to reach endgame, consider which Vault Hunter might have the best solo performance for tackling early Ultimate Vault Hunter mode content. During your playthrough, start paying attention to firmware as soon as it begins dropping at level 25. Don't just equip the highest level gear, start thinking about the set bonuses and how they might work with your intended endgame build. Take screenshots or notes about interesting combinations you want to revisit later. Once you hit endgame, resist the temptation to immediately rush to the highest Ultimate Vault Hunter mode difficulty. Take your time with each tier, really learning the enemy modifiers and challenge types. The gear you get from UVHM level 2 is going to be specifically better than anything from the campaign, so make sure you are properly equipped before pushing higher. Prioritize weekly content from the start. Even if the rewards aren't immediately useful for your build, you want to start building up your iridium reserves and getting familiar with the weekly rotation patterns. Plus, some of those guaranteed legendary drops from weekly wildcard missions might surprise you with their versatility. Don't neglect your specialization progression, but also don't feel pressured to optimize it perfectly right away. The beauty of the respec system is that you can experiment and adjust as you learn more about the endgame meta and your preferred playstyle. Finally, start building your friend network early. Between Maurice's instanced black market machine, the benefits of group play in higher UVHM tiers, and the general social aspects of weekly content, having a solid group to play with is going to enhance your experience significantly. Alright Vault Hunters, we have covered a ton of ground today, man. From Ultimate Vault Hunter modes, 5-tier progression system to those revolutionary firmware gear sets, from account-wide specializations to the most comprehensive post-launch roadmap in the Borderlands history. Borderlands 4 isn't just another later shooter, this is a complete reimagining of what endgame progression can look like in this genre. Whether you are casual players who logs in for a few hours each week or a hard grinder planning to sink hundreds of hours into perfect builds, this system's got something meaningful for you, no doubt about it. We are just 9 days away from the launch on September 12th, and honestly I am so hyped to get my hands on this game and start putting all these systems through their paces. I'll be covering everything from optimal leveling strategies to endgame build guides to weekly content walkthrough. What aspect of Borderlands 4 endgame has got you most excited? Are you planning to man one character or experiment with multiple Vault Hunters? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and I absolutely love discussing strategy and theory crafting with you guys. If this deep dive helped you understand what you are getting into the Borderlands 4, smash that like button to help the algorithm show this video to other Vault Hunters who need to see it. And if you want more Borderlands 4 content, check out my complete Vault Hunter breakdown series where I cover optimal skill builds and gear combinations for Vex, Rafa, Amon and Harlow. Thanks for watching Vault Hunters, see you on the Kairos and may your loot be legendary.